Well, the header appearance is certainly improving. So now let's address the H2. And if we just look at this visually, centered type, though people use it, from a design viewpoint, centering content, too much centered content, well, it's just boring. It's plain and simple. It's just boring. So what we're going to do is I'm first going to right justify the type, okay? Not right justify, sorry, align right. And then I'm going to try justifying the type, and then I'm going to get rid of the super and the sub script here. And I'll keep the underline, though again, from a user experience, this underline really means that it's a hyperlink. Okay, so we probably should deal with these a different way instead of the underline. And even if we color coded them, people might think they're going to click on them. So that's something you're going to have to think about in future projects. Okay, what meaning are you adding to your content with either a structural element or a presentational element or style? Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and clean up our H2 a little bit. So we'll go to our code, and first let's find our H2, and I have this in a block quote. So this is really not, well, it could or could not be a quote. So potentially I could remove the block quote, and then I could use some margin on H2 to move the text over. I'm going to go ahead and just keep the block quote, but I will remove the super and the subscript, like so. Okay, and in doing so, okay, I thought maybe when I started deleting this, I thought maybe I had made an error over here, but it was just the way the code was updating. All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of this closing element. Better to be sure. Okay, so we just deleted the super and the sub, and what we're going to do now is target our H2. So let's find our H2, or yep, H2. And then I realize here I never actually styled H2. Okay, so let's go ahead and create H2. Like so. And I can just take some of what I've already done here. So I'll go ahead and copy some of what I've already written for H1. You know, why rewrite if you can copy code you already have? And we're going to paste. Now you'll notice I have this font family. This might be a good place to again include the universal selector. So I could place my font family up in my universal selector and then comment it out here, and then that font family would be added. But you may want to use a couple of different font families. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep it the way it is here. All right, so we're going to change the font size, and since this is an H2, let's start out with just 20 pixels. The font weight, I'm going to change this to book so it won't be bold. The font style can remain normal. The text align, let's go right. And then my line height, this basically is going to act like leading. So let's try 24 pixels. You don't want too little or too much leading. You want some nice visual space. You don't want the ascenders and the descenders, okay, like a Y and possibly like an L here. You don't want those to come together, but you don't want them so far apart that you're visually breaking the lines of type. All right, so let's try 22 on the line height, and we will save. And let's take a look at what we've done. Okay. All right, so I've gone and I've done my align on the right-hand side, which is visually interesting. It's not overly typical, but it's visually interesting. Let's try our alignment on the left. And we'll save. Okay, so now we have our type aligning on the left, which is a little more common. But again, you're thinking about your layout graphically. So the right justification was interesting. Type's a little more difficult to read. Let's go ahead and try, instead of align left, we'll try justify, and we'll save. And the risk you run in justifying your type is what they call rivers in design. These spaces, these gaps which run through your type. And those rivers are just visually, I don't know, they're sort of visually disturbing, just visually annoying. So be careful with justify type. Now, I agree, this nice, clean, vertical alignment of the type on both sides, well, that's visually really nice, okay? But you run the risk of these little gaps running through these rivers. So you could go in and you could work with word spacing, and you could also work with your letter spacing, your text, your text spacing, and you could clean this up. But you would probably spend more time than it's really worth, okay, aesthetically. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to change my justify to align left, or text align left, and we'll save. And I believe this will be my stopping point for the header, which for me visually it's simpler, and you know, it looks nice. One last thing is the line height. Now that I'm looking at this with this point size, well, I'm sorry, with this pixel height of type, we could have a little more space. All right, our ascenders and descenders, like right here, they're a little close, especially with this underline. So let's add a couple of more pixels of line height, and then we'll save. So we'll go 24 pixels on the line height, and that's better. Okay, we could probably go a little further, but that's going to be really something individual, your own individual taste. The big thing is don't go too little and don't go too much. Find a happy medium. And the other is, you'll notice I kind of go back and forth. Designers often, they make a choice, then they visually look at that choice, and then they decide, do I need to go one way or another? Do I need less? Do I need more? So you're going to see me doing that quite a bit, because sometimes I just need to see something visually to make a decision if that was the right choice or not.